JC Rodrigo is here with me. He works at Nintendo's Treehouse, and ARMS is the thing that we are talking about today. I think you could probably tell that by a little bit of the signage that we have around us. Tell me about ARMS. This was like out of nowhere. We got a brand new Nintendo game this year.
Yeah, developed by Yabuki-san and his team. They are also the team that's responsible for like Mario Kart 8. These guys put in a lot of work into making this really unique fighting game in which these characters, can punch each other with these extendable arms. So whether there's a lot of close combat, there's a lot of far away combat, and everything in between, and it feels really different.
Was it something that came out of the Joy-Con idea? Was it a concept to sort of build gameplay around moving those things around?
The original idea and concept for this game, it's inspired by little things. Everything from Punch-Out, even to the multiplayer aspects and items from like Mario Kart, right? They wanted something to be a little unpredictable, but at the same time have this weird kind of unique gameplay thing where you've never felt it before. It's really weird to actually punch forward with your hand and then kind of steer it left and right in midair. Usually in most fighting games you would punch and you would just kind of stop. But here you have to really think about following through and making sure that your fist really hits the other person's, face.
I've noticed from just my short time playing this, and I suck at this game so far, but I noticed that if you take a breath and find the spot, that sweet spot, sometimes the clouds part and you just punch right through the fists and you get them right in the face.
Yeah, actually, I think you touched on something really important there.
Yeah.
And there's a really distinct combat system in ARMS. There's this thing called rock, paper, scissors. We call it RPS, right? And the way it works is if you saw that when the clouds opened up, what you probably saw was a throw. Because if someone's throwing you, you see this little green line connecting their hands, it comes at you. And if you punch, that punch will sail right through their throw and hit them in the face. And the way you defend against a punch is that you block. And you win over a block with a throw, and you win over a throw with a punch. You see how the kind of wins over the other?
Yeah,
it's
and
exactly the same.
What I've noticed even just in my brief time with this is that it's as fun to block as it is to punch, and I guess that's part of the tuning that goes into a game like this.
Absolutely. It's about guessing correctly, right? I'm trying to hit you more than you're trying to hit me, but also minimize my risk. So if I'm blocking, I pretty much guessed correctly. Okay. That's all it is. It's just trying to get the other person and go, gotcha, like you weren't guessing right.
It looks like there's a bit of a move on Nintendo's part, and certainly already from some of the marketing that we've seen around Splatoon 2, to go into the esports space. And this game, it hasn't been sort of positioned that way yet, but it does look like one of these games that's as fun to watch as it is to play. Is that sort of the thinking there, that this might end up becoming an esport down the road?
We believe that any game can be competitive. You can make anything fun. But in this particular case, this kind of fun that's with ARMS is really something it's not anywhere else. We've never made a game like this before. This style of fighting game isn't really popular here. So this really is the first foray into the over-the-shoulder third-person like fighting game.
Right.
So, it's going to be really interesting, and the game is a lot deeper. And I can even go into crazy fighting game term-specific things like what frame counts, active punches, like all kinds of active frames, recovery frames, okizeme, which is a wake-up game, and how to guess properly there, and what that means to play off of the different matchups and how to play them depending on what your opponent has and what you have, and how to think about that. That's going to determine whether you step forward or you stand still and block, all because I have to understand what your arms can do and what your character is capable of. So it's super, super deep.
Have you seen people play this at that super hyper-competitive level? Is it a completely revolutionary when you watch somebody do something like that with this game?
To me, this is a great introduction to people that aren't into fighting games.
Right.
And it's this weird dance, right? You have these two characters that are basically trying to fight each other. And everyone likes to see, they punch them really well, or they're taking a lot of damage off, but really it's the ins and outs, faking an attack, defending at the right moment, or even faking to defend when you really want to punch the other person and try to bait the other person to do something that you want them to do. So it's this really weird game of trying to be one step mentally ahead of the other person at every moment, whether you're moving, whether you're blocking or punching or throwing, or purposely I'll block. And I'll block on purpose because I want you to know that the way to win over a block is a throw. And I'm waiting for you to throw because my left hand's going to come out immediately and blow up your throw.
How do you guys in the Treehouse all play this game competitively? Is this something where you pick up the Pro Controller and you play sort of buttons and sticks, or do you prefer to punch with the Joy-Con?
I think it's personal preference. For me, I think, I did actually spend a lot of time with the motion controls first. Then I went to button controls, spent a couple weeks there, and then eventually I found myself really moving back to motion controls because you can do really crazy things. Like for motion controls, for example, I can dash to my right, at the same time throw a punch going to my right. and also cover in case you move to your right, throw a punch to the left while moving to the right side. That same motion and like 5 different inputs would look like this on the controller. It'd be really difficult to do.
Right.
But in motion, it looks like this. And I've got all 5. That's all it takes. Just boom.
Wow.
So, I mean, depending what your play style is, depending how you want to approach the match, you can be as active or as, and shake your buttons, whatever you'd like. It'll work both ways.
Have you got stages in the game where you're kind of traversing through the area a little bit, or are they all sort of more arena focused?
All of these stages are arena focused because you want to keep up that tempo of the battle, right? There's always this kind of back and forth of like me knocking you down, you trying to figure out which way to wake up, then you knock me down, and that action's really fast and really frantic. And we decided to change it up by also including items. So there are these bombs that can come in and they can set off. Some of them are shock, some of them are fire bombs, some of them are even like these HP juice balls that could heal you or even fill your super gauge or your rush gauge. So depending on what stage you're in and how to use a car as a defensive tool, or because you have great options when you're above someone else, jump on top of the car and just start throwing stuff at the other person. So it just depends on how you want to play and what stage you're in.
When you see this game and you know Nintendo's heritage and the history, it's hard not to think Punch-Out. It's hard not to think, is there some kind of Punch-Out stuff in this game at all?
What's interesting, you go into Punch-Out, and the difference between Punch-Out and this game is there's a little similarity to Punch-Out, right? You have a left punch, you have a right punch, and you even have a way like a super punch almost, right?
Yeah.
We call them rush punches. But the difference in this game is instead of reading a computer that has a certain pattern and you're trying to guess what that pattern is, you have to read a human person that has the same options as you do. So it's more about guessing what the other person's habits are. Like I'm pretty much from the beginning of the match, I'll be studying if you're right-handed or left-handed. And I'll note a circle on that side because I know that you use that hand more. And I'm studying every step of the way.
Note to self, not fighting this guy in this game. That's crazy.
Love it, man. That's what we do. I love fighting games. And when I first got the ARMS project, one of my favorite things to do was to really take apart, like, okay, what range do I throw this punch? What if I took a step back? And then being really scientific about what's happening here. So yeah, that's a great tip for you. If you want to take people on, I'll train you. I got you, Vic. So we'll train you to become a total killer, man. You can get in there and people are gonna go, oh my gosh, you're so good. And you'll be like, I don't know what happened. And you know exactly what you're doing. You just don't have to say anything.
Now, in terms of multiplayer, obviously we've seen a couple people play split screen and stuff like that together. Can you do more than that?
Yeah, there's the option for like 2-on-2 battles. So if you have 4 people in a room, you guys can all take each other on 2-on-2 matches, or do like 4-person free-for-alls and everybody just punching each other. That's totally cool too. There are online and wireless options, local wireless options as well, but we'll talk about that later, Dave.
All right, okay. ARMS is coming soon. I can't wait to play this.